Hello. Hello.
This is my sister, Eno Georgette Inwek, and that's probably all the introduction that you need, sister. But I'm so glad that you are doing this podcast with me on Confidence Conversations and my first podcast, as you know. You know it's going to be the first one, episode 1. So we have our upbringing in common, but we are not the same. So I'm interested to see where this conversation goes too. First, can you please introduce yourself for the audience, ma'am?
Thank you. I'm Eno Georgette Inwek. I'm the quiet, very nice, solemn.
Don't make me edit this thing so we can get some truth. Ma'am, please
I am the
proceed.
very humble one, very shy, very reserved. Just don't talk a lot type person. Thank you for having me on your show. What's up, girl? I'm so happy to be here. I got you for a
You
minute.
did. When you started doing the quiet thing, I was like, what is she doing? Okay, Erica,
Never that.
please
Not on camera, maybe in real
introduce,
life.
introduce yourself.
Well, I am the older sister of Idara. And above all that, I am what my friends jokingly but seriously at the same time call Africa's ambassador of possibility. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an aunt, I'm a daughter, I am an overcomer, and I'm entrepreneurial. But really and truly, I'm someone who's a stand for women. That's just my purpose in life. I'm someone who is here to help women on a journey that involves any type of overcoming an obstacle, I should say, where somewhere along their life they were displaced. So that's how I see myself as someone that's here to help women make that type of transition. So
I like
yeah,
how you don't define yourself in terms of work that you're doing, what you're doing right now, but what is of interest to you, what touches your heart. And you know this, but for the longest, when people would ask me, what does your sister do? It didn't really matter what job you were in, what phase of your career. I would always say, whatever she
whatever
wants.
she wants. I remember that.
Pretty
You've
much,
always
pretty
said
much.
that. But if you think about it, it's true
It
because
is.
that's kind of the household that I grew up in. My dad was like, "What do you want to do today?" "I want to be a tennis player," and he would go get all this tennis equipment. And
Right.
after 2 weeks, "I want to be a singer." He hires a whole music studio and is like, "Sing." Meanwhile, I can't sing. So I always thought there's no limit to what I could do. You're
And
right.
this sounds like it's also a story of dad's patience, is what it sounds like.
It was, and it continues to be.
That's a good point. I won't be surprised to see if that kind of intertwines with the rest of our conversation. How would you define or describe confidence?
What I would have said about confidence 10 years ago, 8 years ago, is probably different from what I would say today. And without even thinking too much about it, I would describe confidence as being a person's ability to get up from whatever space they find themselves in. It could be a physical thing, it could be an emotional thing, but your ability to get up and decide to move forward, even though you're not quite sure of the outcome. Sometimes that can come from inside, right? Sometimes that could come from just fear. But if it's not clear to you, whether it's clear or not, you just make the decision to get up, be uncomfortable, move forward, but the decision is yours to do the move. Now, the situation you find yourself in might not have been your decision, but the decision to get up and move, irrespective of where that road may take you, to me, is a good definition of confidence.
So there's a distinction between confidence and certitude. Being confident doesn't mean that you're sure of the outcome, that you're even sure of the circumstances. So it's something that you will show itself regardless of those circumstances.
Perhaps. And I think that I'm almost concerned to define it a certain way. I know that there's the dictionary definition of it and how everyone defines it, but you can be confident that, let me talk for myself. I'm confident that this thing will not kill me.
Hmm.
This is what I do know. So for those of you who are listening who don't know, I've gone through a very treacherous journey, a financial one that almost killed me. It was a divorce. So confidence to me doesn't look like I know what the outcome is going to look like. Confidence just for me means get up and do it. It will not kill you. Because for me, that was the worst case scenario. I was in a bad, dark place. So I don't have that fear of starting over or reinventing myself. I don't think I really had it before. That is one definition of confidence. And it changes depending on what the
Yeah.
scenario is. I might be clear that I'm good in this particular area, and I'll just go forward with it confidently. I'm also not clear if this is going to work out for me. But what I do know on a higher level is that I'll get past it. I have stood up before, I've gotten up before, I'll get up again. And that's what I do to move forward. That's a different type of confidence where you're
Okay.
sure versus you're
Yeah.
not sure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Now, a lot of what I'm focused on recently has been career to the extent that, in your personal life, you have different tools than you would use in a professional setting. What would you say is a time when you've been confident and being confident made a difference in your career?
Now, when I talk about career, for me, it does mean my entrepreneurial ventures.
Okay.
An example for me of when I exercised confidence was about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago. I had a 9 to 5 working at a school. I have a background in education,
Hmm.
and it was right in the middle of COVID. COVID just started. Companies weren't sure how to deal with it. There was a lot of confusion. I was told at that point I was the prized worker. I was keeping the company afloat. Everyone else didn't get a raise. I was getting a raise. I felt the pressure too. But at the same time, I didn't feel appreciated. My blood pressure was going up. I was still in a situation where I felt that the person I was working with, the person that was in charge, was being condescending to me. It wasn't a good time for one to leave their job. But at the same time, I had just gotten my master's degree, just completed that. And I knew that nobody was hiring, irrespective of what degree you got, because COVID had started. People didn't know what direction they were going to. And what was I going to look for? I wasn't sure. But what I did know, I wasn't healthy. My blood pressure was up. My doctor was telling me at the time, you're having symptoms of anxiety. And I thought to myself, if I were to die, will this company be okay? Oh, they'll be okay. I'm going to go try to work for myself. I've already been in a place where I got to create pop-up stores to sell little things that I was doing, but the money that I was making doing that was not enough. And I thought to myself, leaving this job will not kill me. I've been in a worse situation before, but it will kill me to stay here. My blood pressure is not right. So I believe it was confidence that I displayed when I decided to leave that day when my blood pressure, I could feel my blood pressure rise, and go to the doctor, where at that point she put me on continued blood pressure medicine. And I thought that would be my last day. That has to be my last day because I need to live for myself. I made that decision. I took care of my health, as we can talk about in a different podcast. My health was really important to me. But I also decided to reinvent myself as far as the way I did my business. Up until then, I was buying little knickknacks here and there and hoping to make a certain amount and just relied on luck. It was confidence on my part to say, what can I do differently? And that's when I started to custom make items. And I will talk about that at a different time, but basically I started to upcycle clothing. I reached out to the Small Business Association to ask them what tools they had. And I reached out to some nonprofits that help minorities and women with starting their business. I got some consultation, and ultimately those moves allowed me to more than match the income that my job had for me. And I say that to say it was a confidence in that decision where I know of myself that I can bounce back from anything, given what I had gone through in the divorce. I thought, this won't kill me. Let me go take care of my health. I can bounce back. And that's exactly what happened.
One of the things that I've known about your whole lives, well, my whole life, since you're older than me and whatnot, is that you have trusted your gut on a lot of things. It's not always obvious that the what the outcome will be. It is not guaranteed, but you feel a certain way about something, and then you follow through with it, and then it works out. When you talk about something as small as making a change in your business, but it turns out to be something significant in terms of income, in terms of audience reach, and then even changing the way you reached out for resources. What would you say is a way that you have how do you get your confidence boost, basically? So if you find that you need a boost, how do you go about getting that boost or reminder?
Confidence is not always something I have access to. It's true. Sometimes I don't feel sure about an outcome, but I need to, how they say, you need to dig from within, and I just don't have it. There are some moments in your life that define things for you. And for me, I continue to refer to the divorce journey because it was very It was a pivotal moment in my life. And for those of you who don't know the story, you're welcome to go listen to my podcast and get the story. However, what I'm saying is, on that journey, it was important for me to work on my fear of failure. Up until then, I can say, I don't have a fear of failure, but that's not the way you behave. You know how to, there's a way you show up when you don't fear failure. I can honestly say, whenever I feel this, best case scenario, I will reach out to someone. I'll call you, brainstorm it. I'll look at the worst case scenario. But above all, I always have to remind myself, you've done this before. You've started before. If it fails, you can start over and you will be okay. That for me is a booster. The fact that I've done it before, to me, that was the ultimate fail. So it inspires me. And if I ever look back at a situation or I'm looking at a situation that looks like I'm afraid to sort of approach it, try it, experience it, I just remind myself that you've done this before. You have what it takes to move forward. And it becomes, quote unquote, that easy for me. That's what it looks like for me. And that is what I know in my gut. And that has taken away this fear that I've had even before the divorce at this point. I now have a real tangible thing that I can lean on in my heart, knowing I just have to start. Whatever I want to do, it'll work out. I have no obstacles. I've been all the way at the bottom before. That's a boost for me.
You may have answered this already, but I'll ask it anyway in case it brings out a different angle. What
Probably will.
recommendation or advice do you have or have you used in situations that challenged your confidence?
When a situation challenges my confidence, it oftentimes has been something that has to do with an outside entity. I remember a time when I was at a pop-up shop and my neighbor didn't say good morning to me. Who doesn't say good morning to me? I thought, oh, surely he didn't hear. So I just waited. Hi, neighbor. Second time, I thought, oh, maybe he has his earpods on. He can't hear me. Fourth time, I couldn't believe it. I remember calling my mom in Nigeria. I said, Mom, my neighbor's not saying good morning back. And she was like, get back to work.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Right? But it shook me on the inside. So when my confidence is challenged, I always have to go back to reminding myself of who I am. But that's the problem for many people and has been my problem in the past. If you don't work holistically and on a very deep level at understanding who you are, your core will be shaken. That will shake your confidence. I understand who I am, and that's the advice that I give myself. Anyone who would listen, work very hard at knowing who you are. So that when an outside person, an outside entity, an outside circumstance tries to tell you that you're not enough, that you don't deserve X, Y, Z, or that you can't do X, Y, Z. But yet I know who I am. I am Eno Georgette Inwek, Africa's ambassador of possibility. You will not tell me what I can and cannot do because I've done it before and I'll do it again. And that's the type of thing that I believe one has to continue to work on in order to establish extreme confidence in themselves, because this world will shake you.
That's true.
It will shake you.
Definitely a lot of external circumstances that can impact you as an individual, especially if you do internalize it. So, final question. What's your next bold move?
Ooh, so that's a great question. Up until 4 or 5 years ago, I used to be apologetic about the fact that I really want to be in entertainment. I dabbled in it here and there because people saw things that were fun in me and thought I was really good at certain things. And they would ask me about acting. And I would say, I'll do that little play for you or that movie or that film or that short for you, but I'm not an actress. Or I'll do that little comedy thing, but I'm not a comedian. I'm in a space now where I'm getting scripts, I'm getting calls to be in plays. I'm unapologetically now showing up for auditions before I used to say no to all of those things. My big move now, my big to-do is to continue to say yes to these opportunities. It's also another way for me to tell my story, share my story, inspire myself, and continue to live this big, unapologetic, glorious life that I have right now, thanks to the likes of you and women like you. That's what I'm doing, taking all my entertainment endeavors to the moon and back.
So that's the final question. Any additional comments that you would like to throw in, ma'am? I'm giving you the floor.
All this English that we are speaking, me, I'm just so proud of you. My sister is in the entertainment industry, as a podcast. She started her business. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Listen, I really love what you're doing. It's so funny that you're taking this confidence and hitting the road with it now. 10 years ago, you were not trying to hear it. 5 years ago, couldn't wrap your mind around it. But here's what's crazy. Not crazy, but here's what's true. You've always been this. You've always been this consultant in this area. So not just me, but to many around you. The fact that you finally decided to share this gift with more people. I hope I don't have to have your people call my people in order to reach you, but I am so proud of what you're doing.
Do you even allow it?
No.
No, you
So
wouldn't.
my final comment is how proud I am of you. I'm happy that I'm your guest on this, and hopefully you can return the favor and be my guest on my podcast, Dear Former In-Laws.
I will do that.
Awesome.
Thanks, Yenica. Well done. And I do
Thank
think
you.
that these sort of conversations will go a long way to help people in one way or another as it relates to confidence.
Thank you for allowing me to share my story.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.